Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to HFM's Friday Night Rock Show, the one, the only, Mr. Colin Blunstone.
Hello!
Colin, how are you?
Good evening, good evening.
All yours, Kendall.
Well, is he? Really? You see, you just made a dream. You made a dream come true. Colin, I've been doing some investigating into your past, and I thought I pretty much had a general idea of what you'd been up to over all these years, and it seems that I was wrong. You've been up to some secret monkey stuff.
What, dear, what's that?
Well, can you tell me about this guy called Neil, who released 3 singles?
Oh, yeah, I can indeed. Charming chap. When I left the Zombies, I thought that the music business had finished with me. This is way back in 1967. And I was flat broke, as were all three guys who were the non-writers in the Zombies. All had to get jobs, and I was no different. I got a job. And then, after a few months of working in an office, one of the tracks the Zombies left behind, called Time of the Season, went to #1 in America, took everybody by surprise, and suddenly people were interested in me recording again. And because I was so sort of disappointed when the Zombies ended, I wasn't sure that I wanted to record, get involved in the recording industry again. And so a producer called Mike Hurst, who'd recorded the early Cat Stevens tracks, that was the real classics, suggested that I just go into Olympic Studios in London, where the Stones used to record, in the evenings after I finished my 9 to 5 job, just to see if I would enjoy being in the studio again. And somehow it was suggested that I did this under a false name of Neil MacArthur. There's no real logic behind it, but I wasn't sure that a record was ever going to be released. So when I agreed to this Neil MacArthur business, I just wasn't really thinking far enough ahead, because the first record that was released was a re-recording of She's Not There, and it was a small hit. So there I was, stuck with the name Neil MacArthur. It means nothing. It was just a bit of complete madness.
Colin, you've been in this business now for 50 years, which is quite an incredible
51
achievement.
actually.
51 years. All the songs that you've written, because you're a very prolific songwriter, do you actually play an instrument?
Yeah, I do. I play guitar. When the Zombies first got together, I was the rhythm guitarist in the Zombies, and Rod was the singer, the lead singer. And it just became apparent very, very early on that Rod, even at, I think we were 15 years old, he was just a superb keyboard player. And I just couldn't believe it when he first played, that he wasn't going to play keyboards in the band. It just seemed insane to me. But Rod had always visualized the band as being a 3-guitar band with a singer in front of it. And so it took a little discussion to enable us just to sort of move around one position. And he became the keyboard player, which was very novel for bands in those days, and created its own problems, because there were no electric pianos or organs other than those huge Hammonds that were very difficult to move around the country. But he became the keyboard player, and eventually I became the lead singer. But I've always been able to play the guitar, and that's what I write songs on.
There's so many things I would like to ask you about. One thing in particular is, in 51 years in the business, technically, you must have seen a lot of changes happening, how the music industry works. It must be quite frightening. Have you got any views on that?
Well, can I answer it in 2 ways? Firstly, in a very light way, that the music industry has always mystified me. It mystified me in 1964. I just didn't understand it. And it still mystifies me. So in many ways, for me, it hasn't changed. It's a total mystery. That's just thinking about it in a very light way. But actually, there's a lot of truth in that. If I was to try and highlight some of the ways it's changed, of course, in recording technology, it's changed out of all recognition. Basically, when we started, we were recording on 4 tracks on a tape machine, and you just had to go in there and sing it in one go, and probably the drums and the bass would be on 1 track. guitar and keyboards would be on another track, and lead vocal and backing vocals would be on the other track, and everything had to be played in real time. Now you've got as many tracks as you want, and very often musicians never meet one another in the studio. They record separately, and I think in some ways that's the musician's loss, really, because there's a great sort of camaraderie and fun in and excitement and energy in putting a record together when you're all in the studio together, and you don't get that when you record it separately. Many other changes. So many record companies now have ceased to exist. There are just the sort of 4 or 5 major labels, very few other record labels, and I don't think people realize that record sales have fallen so drastically that a vast majority of record companies have gone out of business. Same with recording studios, because a lot of people record at home. They might do the finishing mixes in the studio, or there again, they might do it at home. So a lot of studios have gone out of business. So there have been huge changes.
Do you think the excitement, because I imagine, well, I put it this way, I've waved bye-bye to 50, so I still remember what the general music scene, the excitement it held, and the fact that you could go out there and pretty much do anything you wanted, when record labels would say, you know what, you want to go and do something experimental, go and do it. You're not really allowed now unless Simon Cowell says so, and I find that very disturbing.
Well, I think that's a slightly different side of the business to the business I'm in, because it's completely the opposite with people, artists like me, who perhaps have got a bit of a history. We tend to form our own record company, and then we'll do a deal with a distribution company who will physically get the records into shops and onto iTunes and help you do deals abroad. But as far as the actual record company is concerned, with the Zombies, I co-own the record company with Rod Argent, and we decide what we record with the Zombies. And with my solo career, I own my own record company, and so I absolutely have total control. So I know that there is another end of the business where you do work with these, very high-powered moguls, where they will probably totally control your career. But that's a different part of the business to the business I'm in.
Happily, there seems to be a resurgence of interest in the more, saying the word veteran is awful, but, seasoned, shall we say, artists. The interest is coming right back. I mean, I can't pick up a copy of classic rock without seeing you in there.
Well, for me, that's good news. I think there is an interest in bands that have a history, especially if they've been involved in sort of classic records, because there are so many memories that people have that they associate with specific tunes. And also if that band can play live. I mean, the Zombies have got they're all absolutely wonderful players, and so we can go and put on a pretty good show, I think.
Oh,
and
you do.
And it's a show that's full of hits, and so from our point of view, personally, interest is growing stronger and stronger, and also that interest is worldwide. We're a band that travels more than probably most bands in the UK.
I was rolling up my sleeves and rummaging through some of your history, as you do when you're trying to interview somebody, and my goodness, I saw a piece of a TV. I think it was an American daytime TV show. You singing "Old and Wise," and this woman is just weeping on the sofa. Did you see that?
I haven't actually seen it, but I was
pretty
there,
good.
so I don't remember it.
I thought, if I was you, I'd have run over and cuddled her and said,
Well, I
there.
couldn't see her. She wasn't in my eye line. It was a program where she's a Dutch, it's not American, she's a Dutch celebrity and a TV celebrity, and she chose some of her favorite songs, but she thought they were just going to be played on record. She didn't realize that I was there.
Oh, so
and
she was off.
I sang this song for her, and I didn't realize that she was crying until somebody told me afterwards. And I'd been, after the show, I was very jovial with her and sort of slapped her on the back and said, "Oh, that was fun, wasn't it?" And I didn't realize that she'd been so upset. And
You destroyed her, Colin. And I was watching it, right? So I'm watching her, watching you I'm roaring, she's roaring.
Well, it's a song. I mean, it does it every time. It's such a beautiful song. It's written by Eric Wolfson, who's a partner with Alan Parsons in the Alan Parsons project, and it's just a beautiful song. Very, very sad.
It's not only that one, Colin. Every time I play one of your songs on our rock show, when the song finishes and I say, over to you, Kendall, there's no chance, mate. She's on the floor in bits.
Snivelling wreck. But you already know that. I've told Colin this. He affects me that way. But you can make a grown trucker cry. That's the thing.
Well, I think that there is... I don't like all sad songs, don't get me wrong. I think some songs can be, oversweet, a bit sort of mawkish. But there is a special beauty in wonderfully beautiful songs like Old and Wise. I Don't Believe in Miracles is probably another one as well. There is a special beauty in those kind of songs, and it does appeal to me. I enjoy singing them, and I enjoy listening to them too.
Your voice particularly lends itself well to strings.
It does seem to work.
It just goes together. It's fantastic.
Yeah, especially if they're arranged by Chris Gunning. He's an absolutely magical arranger, and he doesn't really arrange like anyone else I know. If you analyse what he's doing, he's not just reinforcing the chords that were written. He completely changes the way the chords that are making up the song. It's totally different the way he arranges things.
Right, Colin, this has been mostly Kendall's interview, but I have one question that I ask every rock star that we interview. Are you ready for this one?
Well, I hope so.
Here we go then. You can have a think about it. What's your favourite fish?
What's my favourite fish?
Yep.
Oh, cod. We have cod and chips every Friday night at home. And I really look forward to it.
Mr. Blunstone, cod man.
Right, okay.
Got it. Brilliant. Thank you, Colin.
See, I think the cod's now coming up on the sea bass. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are several other things I'd like to ask you about. I'm desperately worried about the fact that when you go to the Philippines and Japan, you will get schmoozed, obviously, by some promoters, and they will probably insist, that karaoke is rife out there.
Right.
Well,
I'm not a big one for karaoke myself. I'll tell you one big difference. You asked me earlier on the difference between in the music business when I started and now, and one really big difference is that at the end of a concert, when we were 20 or 25 years old, at the end of the concert, that's when the evening began.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
But nowadays, at the end of the concert, there's a rush to get back to the hotel so we can get some sleep time for the next night's concert. So any karaoke is usually done sort of after a show, and I think I'll be amongst those not present, to be absolutely honest.
Don't
pick My Way, because there's been a wave of murders over the Philippines over My Way karaoke murders.
Well, I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah,
why?
True.
It's true. It's really scary.
Is it just because they don't like the way people sing it?
They think that people are too arrogant when they sing it, apparently.
Oh,
anyway,
well,
just
keep away
beware.
from that one if I do get caught. But I think it's very unlikely that I'll be doing My Way. One thing I want to do while I'm over there is go to the... I'm not a big one for shopping at all. And last time we were there, the promoter put a whole day by for shopping. I couldn't understand this. There's sort of 7 blokes in our party, and we've got a day for shopping. And he took us to this sort of huge warehouse that was just full of, what can I say, fantastic names, but at very, very, very reasonable prices. And it was just great fun to see sort of Rolex watches for £2 or something like that. It was really good fun. I enjoyed that, so I hope we get the chance to do that again.
Excellent. Go shopping.
Right, Colin, thank you very much for doing this interview for us.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. I really look forward to it.
Good luck with the rest of the tour.
Thank you so much.
Will you send us the occasional email to let us know about your adventures abroad?
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Of course I will.
And we can read them out and keep all the Zombies fans abreast of exactly what you're up to each week.
Okie dokie, it's a deal.
Brilliant, Colin.
All right,
thank
darling.
you very much indeed.
Take care. Thank
Absolute
you so
pleasure.
much.
All the very best.
Cheers,
And
Colin.
to you,
Bye-bye.
darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.